soft, buttery, packed with rich coconut raisins and mixed fruits flavor. A taste of sweet, savory Trinidad sweet bread. And firstly, you're gonna need 6 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 pack of instant yeast, 1¼ cup of brown sugar. Next, you're gonna add a pinch of salt and 3 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Next, you're gonna add 1 whole coconut, and you're gonna add this in portions. So you're gonna add half now and half later on. You're also gonna add 1¼ cup of these raisin sultanas, and I'm also adding ½ cup of glazed mixed fruits. And you're gonna give those dry ingredients a good mix before we add in our wet ingredients. Once all of your dry ingredients are incorporated fully into the flour, you can then begin to prepare your wet ingredients. But while we are mixing this dry ingredients, I am going to add in the next half of the dried coconut later on, once I have realized that everything is coated evenly, the raisins, the mixed fruits, the sugar, everything is incorporated well into that all-purpose flour. I'm then going to be adding in the next half of that coconut. And this is the brown coconut. This does not have the one with the jelly, so this is the jelly dried up in a nutshell. Look at that, in a nutshell. Yeah, and next we're going to be using 1 margarine, 1 box of evaporated milk, and 2 eggs. So we did melt our butter or margarine in the microwave for 1 minute, and I'm also beating the egg to be added into that dry flour. I'm also going to be adding in a teaspoon of mixed essence, as well as 1 teaspoon of vanilla essence also. And we're going to give that a good mix. You are also going to be adding water to this as well, but I am mixing in all of those wet ingredients before I add in the water. And when you're going to be adding in the water, you're going to be adding it into portions, so you don't want to over add water and then your dough is too soft and sticky. So our dough now essentially has to form like a bread, so it's not going to be like a cake batter or a cake mixture. So for our water measurement, I did use 1¼ cup of water. However, this is based on your preference. I don't want a sticky dough, so I did go in small increments, adding in my water. And as you could see here, my water, I'm gradually adding that water. This is based on your flour measurement. So 1 cup, again I'm using the 1 cup measurement for this ingredient, or for this recipe I would say. And I'm just thoroughly mixing that in. I'm using 1 hand to mix it. I've never mixed this with a hand mixer, so I don't know how that would work with it. But as you could see here, my dough is coming together really nicely, and I'm making sure to incorporate all of that extra flour that is still in our bowl. And bear in mind, you're going to need a really big bowl for this recipe. This particular recipe gives you 4 sweetbread based on the bread pans that you have. I'm using the standard size bread pan, as I always use with or for my other regular white bread. And I want to make sure that I do take off all of the excess dough that is on my hands or in between my fingers. I did add in a little tip of water just at the bottom of the basin or the bowl, where I noticed it had a little bit of dry flour that I was not able to pick up within the dough. and as a result of that, my dough got a little bit too sticky for my liking, so I did sprinkle some flour onto this, and I'm kneading this dough for approximately 5 minutes. When you're done, your dough is supposed to be looking like this. As you could see, the mixed fruits, the raisins, and even pieces of coconut to the top of the dough, and you're gonna allow this to rest for 30 to 35 minutes in a warm area, and please ensure that you cover with a damp cloth. Once that time has been completed, you're gonna take some margarine and you're gonna butter your bread pans or whatever you are making your sweetbread in really generously. And then I'm going to now prepare my dough. So I did sprinkle some flour onto my tabletop surface really generously before adding that dough in there. And you really want your dough to either get a bit bigger or double in size. That is entirely up to you, but make sure that you have it in a warm place, otherwise it's not going to double in size. And I am cutting this here into 4 equal parts, or as equal as you can get it, and then I'm going to shape them out into balls. The same way that I shape out the bread is the same way that I'm going to be shaping out the sweet bread as well. And this is the technique here where I just flip it over and bring all the edges together and squeeze until it looks like a really nice ball, just like that. And I'm going to complete the same process on all 4 balls, one after the other, and it should look something like this. Once that is completed, again, you want to make sure your surface is really well floured, because you don't want your dough to stick together, and you're just gonna roll it just like you would roll bread, and then you're gonna put it into the bread pans. Make sure your edges or ends are sealed, and once you're done, it should look something like this in the bread pans. And you're gonna complete this on all 4 balls until you have placed all 4 balls or all 4 sweet bread into bread pans. And at this point, you're gonna allow this to rest in a warm area. I left mine for approximately 2 hours until they doubled in size or kind of filled up the bread pans, and this is what they look like after 2 hours. When you do put them to bake, they will get bigger, and I did bake this on 400 degrees for approximately 45 minutes. You could choose to bake it on a lower heat for a longer time. That's entirely up to you. This is what they look like after that time frame. Wonderful. Now it's time to glaze it, and I just melted down some butter, and I'm using a silicone brush to brush on that butter to the top of our sweet bread before I add some brown sugar. You can use white sugar for this, but I am choosing to use brown sugar on the top of it. And please allow this to cool down really well before you cut it. If you try to cut this hot, it breaks apart, and for me that doesn't work out. So I will wait until it is cooled down entirely before cutting it, and this sweet bread was divine. I hope you all enjoyed this recipe, and let me know what other recipes you all would like to see, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.